I'm joined now from South Carolina by a close friend and spiritual advisor to Donald Trump, Pastor Mark Burns. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak to us, and welcome to Arabiya News. Can I just start by asking you, when did you last speak to Mr. Trump, and how do you think he's feeling at the moment?
Well, yesterday, he feels obviously very strong. This is a second assassination attempt on his life. This is a clear indication that there are outside forces all the way back from 2016 until now that does not want Donald J. Trump to come back to power simply because he's one of the few politicians and few leaders to actually give power back to the American people and away from the corporate entities. And they are doing whatever they can to stop this man from doing just that. But clearly, like the book of Isaiah said, and I said this to the president, I reminded him of this. Isaiah says, "No weapon formed against you will prosper. He will live and not die."
I just want to ask you where you were when you first heard this news. How did you hear it?
Well, I was with my church. We had just gotten out of church, and I was with several of my staff members at church dinner when I had got the word that there were shots fired near the president. It was before it even broke to the news. And so it was obviously alarming. And at first, I'm thinking, how could this have happened again? What is happening? How has this guy, how does an AK-47 get 200 to 400 meters away close to the president? How is this happening? How does this keep happening? The fact that I'm very happy the Secret Service moved in quickly, returned fire in that direction, got the president on the ground, then got the president out of the area. They've done a great job in protecting his life again. But you have to ask yourself, why does this keep happening? How are they able to get even that close with the AK-47? It makes no sense to me. But I was completely alarmed, but not surprised, because they have been doing things like this. The opposition have been doing things like this for such a long time. And when you have people like Kamala Harris, who are on the national stage telling the whole world that Donald J. Trump is a threat to democracy and a threat to America, that is clearly inciting violence. That is clearly inciting and inspiring others to take up violence against Donald Trump to try to take him out. They want to complain about what happened in J6, but those liberal Democrats are extremely violent with their rhetoric, extremely violent. And causing a lot of this violence to take place against Donald Trump and people who are close to him. That is coming from the left, not from the right.
So just to be clear on this, you're attributing or apportioning blame, at least in part, to Kamala Harris for this latest attempt on Donald Trump's life.
Well, if Kamala Harris and those that are a part of her party on the left can say Donald Trump caused J6, or people like me who declared, "Give me liberty or give me death," which is quoted from one of our founding fathers, one of our framers, to say I incited violence and caused and inspired the J6 to take place. I said it on J5 and spoke on J6. And for them to say that, well, then, yeah, I absolutely blame Kamala Harris and those that are like her, that are calling for the death of Donald Trump, calling for the removal of Donald Trump, calling him a threat to American democracy, calling him, the number one enemy to America. Saying rhetoric like that will inspire people who are not all together to pick up their weapon and try to take Donald Trump out. And both people, both would-be assassins, are not supporters of the Republican Party. They're not supporters of Donald J. Trump. They're not supporters of the conservative movement. They are people that are on the left. So this is clear indication that those words those violent words that are coming from Kamala Harris and others like her are inspiring people to take up arms, to do harm to Donald Trump and people who are close to him. And the scary part about it, not all of us have Secret Service, right? None of us have Secret Service. And a good job to the Secret Service agent, for protecting my friend and doing a great job to make sure that he is safe and his family is safe. But we don't have that. And to me, I think they're putting our lives in danger by consistently using violent rhetoric, like Nancy Pelosi said and Maxine Waters said. And when you see a Trump supporter, you let them know that they are not welcome where you are. I mean, these are the type of words that are coming from elected officials from the left who are clearly using violent rhetoric to show their disdain for what Donald Trump stands for and what we as Americans and patriots stand for on the right.
Sure, I mean, they're showing their disdain for him and making no secret of it. But just to be clear, they're not calling for anyone to try to kill him, are they?
Well, I mean, again, go back and look at Kathy Griffin, the comedian Kathy Griffin. She had a head, remember that, right? These are language that are coming from people on the left. Madonna, right? Kathy Griffin, the comedian, had a head that looked like Donald Trump and had it cut off, fake blood. This has been going on for a long time. This just didn't start. We have not been saying anything like that about Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton or Barack Obama or now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That type of a rhetoric has not been coming from those of us on the right. That violent, evil rhetoric has been coming solely from those on the left. Go back and look at the riots that took place in Baltimore, right? When people were getting killed, violence, burning down houses. All of this is coming from the right. Coming from the left. We don't burn down our own cities in the right side. We don't. We have a protest, and it was a peaceful protest until we believe it was infiltrated by outside forces to help incite violence. But for the most part, we have marches all over the United States of America promoting our conservative movement, and we're not burning down any cities. So the violence is coming from the left, and it's just getting started. And it's a dangerous time for America now, because this is a second attempt on the leading candidate for president of the United States of America by many polls, leading, and will be the 47th president of the United States of America, the greatest political comeback in U.S. history. But yet, again, this is a second assassination attempt. It's very dangerous for America.
Sure. I mean, just to be clear as well, I mean, the polls are changing as each day goes by, and not all the polls I've seen have Donald Trump in the lead. But just going back to what you were saying, I mean, we are talking about a United States that is extremely disunited. It's a profoundly divided nation. And if I just took what you said earlier and copied and pasted it and took out the left and replaced it with the right, I mean, basically someone on the left would say exactly what you'd said, but say that all the hateful rhetoric, all the violent rhetoric is coming from people on the right. It's not us. I mean, how do we get out of this situation we're in right now? What's the way out?
Well, we first stop trying to kill Donald Trump with a bullet. Let's start there, okay? All right, let's stop trying to assassinate the man and allow him to live life peacefully and allow him to continue to help make America great again without trying to assassinate him. Number two, again, I don't quite know. I know I don't really know where you're located at, but I'm here in America and I see firsthand. I've traveled with the team and the president firsthand. I've spoken at so many of his rallies firsthand. And I know the legacy media will report things that are contrary to what actually happened. Right? They have their own agenda. Matter of fact, we just look at how ABC News treated Donald Trump during this debate. It was a complete sham. It was a complete 3 against 1. The ABC moderators and Kamala Harris against Donald J. Trump by himself. And he held his own like he always done. He's a lion. This is what you have experienced. Matter of fact, you're having people within the ABC organization are now admitting that they were instructed to only fact check Donald Trump, never to fact check Kamala Harris. So this is exactly what Donald Trump has been going up against. So when you, the media, begin to talk about like it's fact, like, well, this is what the right is saying and this is what the media is reporting. No, absolutely not. We don't burn down our houses. We don't burn down our cities. We don't kill our own people. Right? That's what's happening on the left side when they are angry about a political decision, right? That's what's taking place in America, but yet that doesn't get reported. But the reality of it is Donald J. Trump is the only person between the depth of democracy and the continuation of this republic. We believe that. Why? Because he's putting the power back in the hands of the regular American people. That's why he's so supported, even after all of these negative things that has come out against him, after all of the negative rhetoric that's coming out against him. Every media outlet is going to report that Donald Trump is losing. That's what they do. They did it in 2016, they did it in 2020, and they're going to continue to do it now because they do not desire for Donald Trump to be the president. They are all against him, and that is fact. You can look at it for yourself, but yet Donald Trump still packs out arenas. Kamala Harris says that people are leaving Donald Trump's rallies and they're bored and he's not talking about him or them or us. The rallies are always packed. The lines are extremely long. She's describing her own rallies, right? The rallies that she has to bust people in, the rallies that she has to pay people to come and show up to because she won't have a large crowd. Donald Trump is doing this everywhere he goes, and he's been doing it for 8 years. People want Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States of America. Kamala Harris is more of the same of what Joe Biden's weak Joe Biden policies, weak immigration policies, weak economical policies. We will get more of the same of Joe Biden and Barack Obama. The world wants President Trump back.
Just before that incident on the golf course on Sunday, Donald Trump put out on Truth Social some quite simple words. I hate Taylor Swift. Now, as a religious man, I wonder, as an advisor as well of Donald Trump, would you advise him to put out those kind of words? It's clearly...
Well, no, of course not.
I mean, it's hate speech, isn't it?
Of course not.
That's hate speech.
Well, I mean, that's not necessarily hate speech. I mean, that's a
he hates her.
Right. They have a right to suggest, I mean, because we get hate all the time, right? I mean, we hate the sin and not the sinner, but we hate sin. Right. And I don't call it so much hate speech, even though I would have suggested him not to say that. Right. I would have suggested if he asked me, should I say this, which he doesn't, because he's his own man. He's a pit bull. But if he would have asked me, would this been good? I would have suggested no, not because you don't want to say publicly you hate somebody, even though they hate us, even though they're very bold in saying how much they hate Donald Trump and how much they hate people like me on social media. We get rhetoric like this every single day, has been for the last 8 years. And the closer you are to the president, the more hate speech you get. But people don't talk about that. It's acceptable because the media does not like Donald Trump. So it's acceptable to call me a coon, right, which is a racially derogatory term. It's acceptable to call me, a charlatan and a grifter and a con man and all of these negative things that happens on a daily basis. I hope you die. I hope you hang yourself. I hope somebody puts a bullet in your head. I mean, these are comments that I get, and I'm not even the president. So I can only imagine what the president gets on a daily basis of how much consistent evil rhetoric that we get from the left side, who are constantly not only pushing their hateful agenda, but they are actually doing it. I mean, we had an incident where somebody opened up our gas leakage on our bus one time, right? The incidents that has happened like that over the years because people cannot stand the Make America Great Again message because it is putting the power back in the hands of the people and removing it from the corporate interests of America. That's why the people are holding up Donald Trump and the voice of God is holding up Donald Trump. I would have suggested not to say that, but I can understand because people like Taylor Swift use rhetoric like this all the time to attack us. But again, if the president would have asked me, I would have said, stay away from using that type of rhetoric. But that's because I'm a pastor. He's not a pastor. He's not the pastor of the United States of America. He would be the president. He was the president of the United States of America and will be the next president of the United States of America.
Just to give the other side to the story, I mean, obviously on the Democratic side, we've heard leaders like Kamala Harris, Joe Biden saying there is no place for violence. We condemn violence. We're relieved to know that Donald Trump is safe. That's the kind of language they use. So it wasn't entirely inflammatory. But just moving on, I'd just like to ask you, as we're running out of time, do you think the security that is provided to Donald Trump as a former US president is adequate?
Well, I mean, I think there's some major questions. Again, I'm not here to speak ill against the brave men and women of the Secret Service that protect President Trump and his family, those that would take a bullet for him, those that would die for him, and those that every day put their lives on the line. And that goes for all law enforcement officers and first responders here in America. And so I'm not here to say something negative about them, but you do have to ask yourself the real question. How has this happened a second time? Why was an individual after somebody who almost killed him? I mean, very close, nipped his ear, just a hair over would have shot him right in the face, like what happened to Dr. King. And you got to ask yourself, how has a person with an AK-47 able to get that close again to Donald Trump? And clearly there's some holes somewhere that needs to be examined and needs to be plugged, because apparently they're just not going to stop. And obviously we don't operate in the spirit of fear, because God didn't give us the spirit of fear. But you have to begin to wonder, again, why does this keep happening? And I know that people will say and do things all the time, but I mean, we have a very smart Secret Service agency, and we have a very strong protective details. I've seen it firsthand. Matter of fact, I'm wearing a Secret Service pin right now that's given to me only by a Secret Service agent when you're that close to the president, and they will hand it to you as a sign of support. It's very valuable American flag pin with the star of the Secret Service on it. That I'm proud of what they've, but I'm very concerned, like millions of Americans are very concerned that how does this keep happening? Why haven't we been able to pick these people off, like in most cases, before they even get there? We're monitoring social media. We're monitoring phone records. We're monitoring things of that nature for people that come on the radar and people that are showing signs that they may be doing some type of a harm to one of our world leaders. And so, again, how did the AK-47 get that close to President Donald Trump while he's playing golf? That's the question that needs to be asked, and I hope they answer it soon.
Yeah, you raised a really important question there. We're just out of time, but I want to ask you before we go. We've heard from one of Donald Trump's other good friends, Chris Ruddy, who is the CEO of Newsmax, and he said today these attempts on Donald Trump's life may have had a spiritual impact on him. I just want to ask you, do you agree with that? And is Donald Trump a very spiritual man?
Well, again, I'm not going to get too detailed about his spiritual walk with the Lord Jesus Christ, but I can tell you he believes in the Lord Jesus. He is saved. He has accepted Master Jesus as his Lord and his Savior. He is very aware that God has spared his life on multiple occasions. And these last two occasions are no different from what God, that just shows the hand of God is upon his life. And the hand of God is sparing Donald Trump for such a time as this. And the fact that he keeps moving forward, that is a clear sign to me. And again, my private conversations with him is a clear sign that this man loves God. And he's very aware that there's a higher purpose involved that's bigger than just his name, Donald Trump, but he is a servant of the people. And he's been called by God to serve the people of this nation and to serve the people of this world. Because remember, Donald Trump in power is a safer United States of America and a safer world. We see that happen with weak Joe Biden and his weak policies. They do not respect America. Russia attacks Ukraine. China is threatening to attack Singapore. North Korea is shooting missiles over South Korea on a regular basis now. But prior to that, Donald Trump had peace. They knew he would send a picture of kill a Soleimani quickly. They knew he would send a picture of a Taliban leader's home and say, touch our American soldiers. We know where you live at. We'll take your whole home out. And they knew he would do it. And so, again, like President Ronald Reagan said, it was peace through strength. Naturally, we don't want violence. We don't want no one to die. I'm not advocating for violence at all. But the reality of it is, those that live by the sword, the Bible says, will die by the sword. So there's repercussions and consequences for those that pick up the sword and try to do harm to American interests and the American sovereignty. And when President Trump was in office, the world knew that. So that made a safer world. The president most definitely knows the hand of God is upon his life and has spared him, not just in these last two occasions, but in other occasions where he could have died. But God has kept him for such a time as this and protected him with a hedge of protection, just like he did Job. There's a hedge of protection around President Trump. And as I said to him yesterday, no weapon formed against you will prosper. And I believe that. I believe God has protected him for such a time as this to help save America.
Yeah, just for the benefit of our viewers, China is threatening Taiwan, not Singapore.
I said Taiwan. I meant Taiwan.
That's all right.
So sorry.
I just wanted to make
Singapore yesterday in the interview, but you're correct. It is Taiwan. Oh, I did it again.
That's all right. That's all right. I just wanted to make sure our viewers didn't think there was a geopolitical development that hadn't been.
It's not Singapore, it's Taiwan, yes.
Absolutely.
And those microchips.
Yeah, exactly. Just lastly, before we let you go, do you have a message to America to make sure we draw a line under this kind of uptick in political violence and that we make sure that there are no future attempts on the lives of Donald Trump or indeed any other prominent political figures in the United States?
Well, violence doesn't play no part, it should not play no part in American politics or American culture. It's never worked. Americans should pull from the strength of people like Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King and their nonviolence approach. That's what moves mountains. Violence never moves mountains. It only creates more bloodshed. And the message to the American people is this. This nation was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. We got to get back to that, which is peace, love, kindness to our brothers and sisters, regardless if we agree. I don't agree with the things of the left, but I am not advocating any type of violence for anyone, whether they be gay, whether it be straight, whether it be black, white, Muslim, Christian, or Jew, Hindu, it doesn't matter. I don't desire no death to no one or violence to no one just because we have a difference in ideology. So we got to get back to that. These United States of America, where we will focus more on where we're common and not where we're different. You may disagree with those on the left. You may disagree with those on the right, but wish no harm to your fellow brothers and sisters. We all are Americans. We have a difference of opinion, but that's what makes us great. That's what makes this American experience great, that we are a republic and the greatest nation in the world. And so my fellow Americans, keep peace, love your fellow brothers and your sisters. In the end, we're all Americans.
Well, that's a great note for us to wrap up on. Thank you very much indeed. A close friend and spiritual advisor to Donald Trump, Pastor Mark Burns. Thank you very much indeed.
Happy to be here. Thank you, sir.